Hey, it's Norm from Testa.com. I'm so excited. I'm here at Disney Animation Studio with Chris Williams and Don Hall. You guys are the directors of Disney's new movie, Big Hero 6. And it's a really special movie because it's set in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
This weird amalgam of San Francisco and Tokyo. It's very sci-fi. There's a lot of high-tech stuff in it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you guys about the process of making the movie, of writing the movie, of directing the movie, and some of the cool storytelling aspects.
Sure.
A lot of people might not know Big Hero 6 is Disney's first Marvel movie. Now, Marvel's part of your family now, and there was a comic book called Big Hero 6. Now,
Correct.
When the idea for this movie came about, did you just pick out comic books and, I want to adapt this one and I want to turn this one into an animated film? What was the process?
Yeah, the process was I just started looking at various properties and remembering with fondly properties that I loved as a kid, and just made a list of things and talked to Marvel about that, and we kind of culled it down to, I don't know, I think it was like 5 maybe properties, and Big Hero 6 was on that list. And I pitched them to John Lasseter and the Story Trust, and Big Hero 6 seemed to be the one that everybody gravitated towards.
And so the original, it was always going to be an adaptation of maybe a lesser known comic, but your interpretation of that.
Absolutely.
From your
inspired,
animation roots.
Yeah, inspired by the comic book. Yeah.
Right, it's not going to be like Silver Samurai or any of
No,
that stuff.
no.
And then the movie, like I said before, set in this combination of San Francisco and Tokyo. There's a lot of world building. Can you talk a little bit about that world building and what elements you took from each city and how you designed the actual city itself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, the decision early on was made to make our own world, create our own world, and so we settled on San Francisco and Tokyo and mashing them up together because we felt like San Francisco had a lot of history and a very iconic city with a lot of landmarks that if we put sort of a Japanese aesthetic over it, it would just create something new and cool and interesting. And then, our tech team got to work as far as, how are we going to achieve this? And so they came up with a lot of technology that really helped us build this world. It's very rich, looks very lived in. It doesn't look like a set, it looks like a real place.
Yeah, one of the things that our boss, John Lasseter, really stresses is the fact that you're going to be developing your story over the course of years. There's going to be many iterations of the story as it changes and gets better and better. One thing you're going to be stuck with is the world. And he's really keen on world building and doing a lot of research that when you build this world, it feels believable and plausible so people believe in what they're seeing on screen. And I love the feeling of looking at a movie and feeling like the filmmakers know not just what's in the frame, but what's beyond the frame. I think that was very important to our production designer and art director, that it feel a very, very lived-in, believable, plausible world.
Right, geographically, it basically is San Francisco. You guys took actually accessor information, like where the buildings are individually placed, and the graphics and art team modeled the city for this movie? Is that right? The entire city?
Yeah, early on we did a very crude model that was basically San Francisco, and then we started warping it and changing the topography. I mean, our hills are much steeper than in real life, although San Francisco is a very steep city. Our San Francisco is actually quite a bit steeper.
It's like when you're flying in an airplane, you realize cities are just flat.
Yeah.
They're so high.
Not San Francisco, man. Right. there's some peaks and valleys. And again, that was just to make a caricatured world, because we didn't want to make it, too realistic. We wanted to have fun with this. This is animation, so we wanted it to be caricatured. So we really played with the topography. And then, looked at the different districts and the market district, and that was going to be our, sort of Tokyo-inspired area with a lot of the neon signs. So we kind of pinpointed different areas of the city and how much of that Japanese aesthetic would be in each one.
A lot of Akihabara there,
Absolutely.
just like people tinkering with things, building things.
Absolutely.
And one of the themes from the presentation we saw was a lot of maker movement aspects in this movie. People with 3D printing, a lot of technology. You guys went to Carnegie Mellon to look at robotics research and nanotechnology. What did you take from that research to infuse into that story?
The one thing I remember coming back from the first robotics trip, where we discovered Baymax, looking at soft robotics really inspired the character of Baymax. And we saw that at Carnegie Mellon. But I do remember coming back from that research trip thinking, I don't think the robot apocalypse is coming anytime soon. Right. I think we're solid.
Slow.
Yeah, some of these robots, they'll take 20 minutes to fold a towel. So I think we're okay for now.
That's just the beginning.
That's
where it starts.
It starts with folding towels, and then it goes from there.
And it's folding us.
Folding us. So anyway, I was blown away, obviously, by the technology, and again, that's where we found the character of Baymax. He came out of that research trip to Carnegie Mellon.
And that's this character drawn behind us, the big inflatable healthcare robot, basically, right? And then in terms of animating that, how did that collaboration work? And
For me, it's there's a lot of the same disciplines. It's just a different technology, and we were lucky that early enough they really took me by the hand, and kind of walked me through the CG process, just so I became familiar with it. And we did like a couple test shots, just so I got familiar with it. And like Chris had come from both, but even then, that was a few years ago, and the technology sort of changed, since then.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there are certainly a lot of things in common between 2D and 3D, and there are a lot of things I love about 2D animation. One of the nice things about 3D animation is it allows you to free up the camera. You can do things with the camera you wouldn't have been able to do in 2D, so I was really excited about that. A lot more cinematic possibilities with the freedom of the camera movement.
When you have this sense of place, one of the things we learned is that when the city was modeled, you guys actually went into like digital scouting, the idea of taking a virtual camera inside the geometry and figuring out where your shot's going to be placed. And so do you feel like there's a real sense of virtual place that you're filming inside?
Yeah, I mean, they have to build these sets. These are virtual sets, and then you place virtual cameras and virtual lights, and yeah, that's a big part. We have a whole department that does that.
Yeah. Wow. And we were very spoiled because we got very used to like, what would it look like if we move the camera over here and then over there is there? There's no end to the set as far as being able to, for us as filmmakers, really place the camera anywhere we wanted to. It was unbelievably liberating.
Right. From the story standpoint, there's a lot of like boy and his robot type of story.
Sure.
Kid genius.
Yeah.
Like even from the Marvel comics, there's a ton of kid geniuses in there with the Hulk and stuff. What are the main themes you wanted to get across in this movie? Like what one theme would you say encompasses the entire movie?
Well, I mean, probably and we ask ourselves that question over and over again over the course of making the film. You always have to remind yourself, what is this movie at its core? I think there's a couple big ideas in the film. I think that ultimately the movie takes on the idea of loss, what it is to lose someone very close to you, and what it is to go through that experience of losing someone. And our character goes on that journey. It's a fun, comedic, entertaining movie, but there is something below the surface that is, a kid coping with loss. And one of the things that we knew is there was going to be a cathartic moment at the end of the film where our main character came to terms with the idea that when you lose someone, in a sense, yes, they're gone, but they can continue to live on through you, and they can influence you even after they're gone and the choices you make. Yeah. And so, in a sense, they can live on through you. And it's the kind of thing that we do hear oftentimes when we lose someone. You can hear they live on through you to the point where it can feel almost trite. But I think that one of the things that movies can be great at is reminding people that maybe it can seem trite on the surface, but there really is truth to it. And it really can be cathartic, and it really can be part of the healing process to take in an idea like that. And so that was something that we kept reminding ourselves, this is what everything has to lead towards. So I think that's one of the biggest ideas in the film.
Yeah. And so that's the main theme, and then there's probably, I would say, a sub-theme about reaching your true potential. I mean, Hero starts the movie off, and he's not really living up to his potential as far as being a super genius. He's not using it in the correct ways, and by the end of the movie, he obviously is. So, that's sort of the sub-theme of the film.
Awesome. You mentioned John Lasseter and the story trust. There was an idea brought by Pixar. I know Ed Catmull wrote a book about that. Can you share some stories from that story trust? What are the things that other directors and other storytellers here at Disney and at Pixar input? What was their input, and what did you take away from that?
It's hard to pin that down because you screen the movie at least 7 times, if not more. So there's many opportunities for everybody to get together and talk about the current iteration of the story. And I think everybody always recognized that there was deep emotion in this story. The challenges we faced, everybody felt it, which was, that you have, like you said, the kid in the robot story, but you also have the superhero origin story.
Right.
There's a mystery plot. And then you've got a lot of characters. So there were a lot of elements that we wrestled with for quite a while, in the story, and everybody helped us with that. And finally, in the final iteration of the film, we managed to get all the levels to kind of play correctly.
Yeah, we work in a very collaborative environment. I think a lot of people aspire to work in a collaborative environment, but it's actually very hard to achieve because it tends to fight human nature. You want to be told that your ideas are great, all your ideas are great, your movie's great, don't touch a thing. But the truth is, movies benefit when you're in an environment where people feel comfortable saying what they think is working, what they think is not working, where people feel comfortable disagreeing with each other, where people can feel comfortable disagreeing with us. And so we have to be in a place where we know what we think the movie needs to be. We have an idea of what we think its strengths and weaknesses are, but at the same time be open to other points of view. And if you do that, and if you allow that, then you live in an environment that is very fluid. There's constant change. It's hard to point to one moment or another where the movie changed drastically. Yeah. It's just a never-ending series of tiny improvements until you have the final product. And so I think that's I think one of the reasons why we've had successes of late under John Lasseter is that he fosters a truly collaborative environment.
Awesome. Any final recommendations for aspiring filmmakers out there, animators who want to one day work at Disney Animation Studio or make short films and films with you guys?
Wow. Draw.
Yeah, draw. You know, this is a computer movie. You know, we come from story and we draw constantly. And I think just having a background in drawing will always help you.
Yeah, and it forces you to observe the world as it really is, you know, and it makes you a great observer. So I would highly recommend that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, Don. Thank you. Big Hero 6 comes out November 7th. I'm very excited to be here to watch a bit of it, and we'll be talking with Disney Animation Studio CTO soon. See you next time. Bye.
Thanks.